Throughout the years, there have been many different champions and dynasties of basketball history. Within these immortalized groups, there's always been superstars and leaders of the team who draw all the attention and take the vast majority of the credit. The thing is, championships are not won by an individual, but by a group of talented players. Some of those key contributors have become lost as time has gone by. Everyone wants to talk about the Shaq and Kobe's of the world, but they overlook the big shots and contributions done by the supporting cast, who made their championships possible. Today, we're focusing on the supporting cast and highlighting some of those pivotal pieces to NBA championship teams that unfortunately many people have seemed to have forgotten. First off, Michael Cooper of the Showtime Lakers. Cooper was a 6'7" shooting guard who was drafted by the Lakers in 1978 and was present for all 5 of their championship runs throughout the 80s. Los Angeles simply wouldn't have had the same level of success without this specialist, as he was one of the NBA's original 3-and-D type of players. Similar to a future Laker like Derek Fisher, Cooper hit numerous amounts of clutch three-pointers for Los Angeles just when his team needed them. In the 1987 NBA Finals, he even set the NBA record for the most three-pointers made in a finals game, with a total of 6. Obviously, that record has been broken plenty of times since then, but his snipe shooting ability was extremely rare in that era. What was arguably even more valuable than his three-point shooting, though, was his all-time great defense. Throughout the 80s, Cooper was almost always the Laker who had the assignment of guarding the all-time great wings, like Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, and Larry Bird, and for good reason, as Cooper was possibly the best defending guard in the game. He was the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year in 1987, and he accomplished that despite being the 6th man that year. He made an incredible total of 8 all-defense teams throughout his career. To this day, only 12 players in NBA history have earned more selections than Cooper, and his 8 all-defense teams is the second most in Lakers franchise history, trailing only the great Kobe Bryant. The Showtime Lakers would have been a great contending team regardless, but make no mistake, they don't win 5 championships in the 80s without Michael Cooper. When we talk about the great Celtics dynasty of the 1960s, everyone wants to talk about Bill Russell, and for good reason, as Bill was not only a great leader and rebounder, but he also may have been the greatest defensive player to ever live. With that being said, Bill couldn't have done it without his high-scoring two-guard, Sam Jones. Jones won 10 NBA championships as a member of the Boston Celtics, and was the team's leading scorer on 4 of those championship teams, averaging as high as 25.9 points per game in 1965. One of the reasons Bill Russell was able to focus the vast majority of his energy on defense was because Jones was the man carrying Boston offensively, thanks to his reliable and smooth jumper, which was well beyond league average efficiency. Speaking of efficiency, he was also consistently one of the best free throw shooters in the league, as he shot a stellar 80.3% over the course of his career. Never has a man with as many championships as fingers been talked about so scarcely. When we talk about the San Antonio Spurs dynasty, 3 players usually come to mind: Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili. But one player who was crucial to 3 of their championship teams was the 6'7" small forward, Bruce Bowen. Bowen was actually very similar to the player I talked about earlier, Michael Cooper, in the sense that both guys were valuable 3-and-D weapons for their dynastic teams. As good as Tim Duncan was defensively during that time, many people believe that Bowen was actually the best defender on the Spurs, as he not only earned a whopping 8 all-defensive team selections throughout his career, but he was even the Defensive Player of the Year runner-up for 3 seasons in a row between 2005 and 2007. If it wasn't for the legendary Ben Wallace, Bowen would have won the award in back-to-back seasons. He was a lockdown defender at a position where it was extremely important, as he was the guy who was assigned to the likes of Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, Paul Pierce, and LeBron James. For a team whose entire identity was built around their great team defense, it's unfortunate that Bowen has become so overlooked. If there's a theme throughout this video so far, it's that defense doesn't get praised as much as offense, despite the fact that they're equally important. Another example of this is the 6'9" power forward, Bobby Jones. Jones spent the majority of his career with the Philadelphia 76ers, with whom he won the championship in 1983. During his peak, he was contributing about 15 points per game, but that wasn't what he was known for, as the man was nicknamed the Secretary of Defense for good reason. For a player of his size, he was incredibly athletic, as he had the speed and leaping ability to cover a tremendous amount of ground. Not only was he consistently among the league leaders in steals per game, but he was usually among the leaders in blocks as well, as it seemed there was nowhere on the court where Bobby wasn't. Between his career in the ABA and the NBA, he played a total of only 12 seasons, and remarkably, he was on the All-Defensive team 11 times. That means he was selected to the NBA's All-Defensive team 91.7% of the time. That's the highest percentage in basketball history. When we talk about the bad boy Pistons of the 1980s and early 90s, names come up like Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Bill Laimbeer, and Rick Mahorn. But they had another contributing weapon who barely gets the credit he deserves. He's known as Vinnie the Microwave Johnson. The reason they called him the Microwave is simply because when he came off the bench, he would heat up so fast that you'd swear he was a microwave. Before guys like Jamal Crawford and Lou Williams came along, Vinnie was the guy who was known to be an absolute bucket off the bench, as he was crucial to filling out the rotation whenever Isaiah and Dumars needed a rest. The 6'2" shooting guard always seemed to save his best performances for when Detroit needed it the most, like when they swept the Lakers in the 1989 NBA Finals, as he averaged 17 points per game on 60% shooting over the course of the series. The bad boy Pistons were known primarily for their brutal style of defense, but there was at least one player on that roster who was known almost exclusively for his offensive impact. So now it's your turn. Who is a player who contributed heavily to his team's success, but almost never gets any of the shine? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.